Welcome to Mubariz podcast. I'm Hashmat Mubariz, your host, and today my guest is an Afghan lady, someone whose work speaks louder than any title, Hella Amarkhil, someone who is the founder of Beacon of Hope, a grassroots initiative that has been empowering Afghan girls through leadership skills training, and education since early 2024, during one of the most different times in the country's history, from managing human resources to leading the content, the media team at the TEDx Shahri and teaching with Amala. Hella's missions stays consistent to make education an opportunity possible for girls who have been denied both. Once again, dear Hella, welcome to Mubariz podcast.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mubariz. Hello, everyone. I hope my voice finds each and every one of you in good health. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here, and thank you so much for inviting me. As you said, my name is Hella Amarkhil from Afghanistan, stands at the age of 19. And you all just explained my experience. And also, I am graduated from high school in 2022, and I'm currently pursuing my degree at American University of Afghanistan. And about my experience, as you said, I have worked in several roles like educator, like content team lead, and program manager and founder, which is my most important role. Thank you so much.
Thank you once again for joining us. It is a great honor to have this conversation with you. First of all, let me begin from here that in early 2024, the United Nations labeled Afghanistan as the most repressive country in the world for women, a country where girls are banned from secondary and university education. Many global media outlets covered this as a hopeless story, a closed door, but on the ground, many Afghan girls are still learning in secret, online, and through grassroots projects like yours. Despite fear and restrictions, these girls wake up every day hungry to grow. They keep studying, organizing, speaking up, even when nobody is watching them. In my opinion, that is one of the bravest forms of resistance. I would like you to hear from you as a young lady living inside Afghanistan and experiencing the situation and the restrictions every day. Why do you think Afghan girls continue to push forward with so much courage, even when the world has turned its back?
Thank you so much for this amazing question, which is a very creative one, I can say, and I really appreciate the part that you said when no one is watching. So, in my point of view, Afghan girls carry generations of resilience in their blood. It's something in our spread, and we cannot even deny this one. When the world turns its back, they do not collapse, they rise instead. And I think it's because we know that no one is coming to save us. So we become our own heroes, even when the world turns its back on us, and it has, many times it has. Afghan girls continue pushing forward because we carry something much stronger than fear, which is purpose. Every step we take is a quiet act of resistance. When we teach ourselves online, speak up in a room when we're not expected to, or build communities like Beacon of Hope, we're saying you can limit our freedom, but not our dreams. We push forward because we're not just doing it for ourselves. We're not being selfish. We are doing it for the girl next to us, for the ones who didn't make it, and for the future we refuse to give up on. And perhaps the most powerful part, as you said, is we do it when no one is watching.
Yeah. I'm sure that starting a non-profit in any part of the world is difficult. For example, when I started my own podcast, I've come across a lot of obstacles and challenges. But in Afghanistan, it is an act of courage and risk. When you launched Beacon of Hope in January, I think 2024, the environment was deeply uncertain, especially for women leading initiatives. Public gatherings were restricted, movement was limited, and support for girls was shrinking. And yet you began anyway, and your work has already reached, I think, over 120 young women, something which is very powerful. That kind of determination makes people, stop and ask how. It is not just about actually creating a program. It is about believing in something others might all call it impossible. It will be so interesting to hear that. What was going through your mind when you decided to start Beacon of Hope, and what gave you the belief that this could really work?
I really appreciate your inspiring words about this. I just remembered my tough times at that time, which was January 2024. I was someone who didn't even know how to make a Google form, which is really funny. And I started my nonprofit. So when I started Bacon of Hope, I wasn't sitting in a fancy office with I can say a full plan mapped out. I was just a girl with a burning need to do something. I started my career from a leadership class. I was a student there, and when I finished that, someone came up and said, "Oh, you have the capacity. Why don't you do something?" So I looked around and saw so many Afghan girls feeling powerless, not because they lacked abilities or passions, but because every door seemed shut for them, which was really difficult and sort of for me. Schools were closed, opportunities were vanishing, and the world had moved on. And I remember thinking, what if we created a door of our own? What was going through my mind was a mix of fear and fire, I can say. Fear that I might fail. A very common thing in my mind was that what if no one joined? And also fire, a deep desire to change the situation. I believed it could work because I believed in us, in Afghan girls.
Mhm.
And so it slowly grew, and not because I had all the answers, but because I created a space where others could bring their answers too. Beacon of Hope is not just about me. It's not about me or my team. It's about what happens when we trust each other or uplift each other and believe that even in the darkest moments, we still have light to give and we still can support each other in the difficult times.
Yeah. It is so interesting. There was a quote that I recently read it that which says that the most powerful voices are often the ones that never given a mic, but actually, sir, your non-profit you did. You gave mics to your sisters, to your peers, to your classmates. It will be so interesting for us too to hear that to share a moment when a girl in your non-profit or in your class, a girl that surprised you when she found her voice and changed the room.
Actually, it's a very interesting question because there are a lot of moments that I can think of. Even if I start talking, I will take a lot of time on this podcast. But there is one moment that I just remembered about amplifying the voice. We had a girl in our one of the public speaking classes, which we had in, I guess it was February, or maybe no, it was March 2024. She was so quiet, to be honest. She was not taking part in the activities. In the beginning, she didn't speak at all and just listened and observed. Honestly, me and my team, we weren't even sure if she would finish the program, but we made space for her. We didn't push her that much, we just let her be. Then one day we had a session where everyone was asked to give a short speech about a moment that changed them. She raised her hand very unexpectedly, I can say, and when she just turned on her mic, something shifted. She told a story about how she used to write poetry at night and hiding it under that pillow or mattress, I can say, because she was afraid someone would find it.
Mhm.
She shared her how writing saved her and how words became her escape. Everyone was silent at that moment, and that day she didn't just surprise me, she reminded me why I do this work because behind every quiet face, I believe there is a storm of brilliance waiting to be
Of
seen.
course. But the one thing that I personally, something which is very personally painful for me, that every time I read international headlines about Afghan girls, I notice the same kind of language that they're always using, voiceless, hopeless, erased. But those of us who actually talk to Afghan girls, who see them learning, building, imagining, fighting for their right, and know that is not the full picture. They're not helpless, they are not hopeless, but actually they are determined, they have hope, and they're fighting for their right. And they don't need pity, actually, they need partnership, they need support. But there is a gap between how the world tells the story and what is actually happening inside Afghanistan. And that gap can lead to the dangerous misunderstanding. As a someone who is living in Afghanistan and fighting for your right and continue to your setting, what do you think the international community gets wrong about Afghan girls, and how do you wish they saw them in the state?
Mhm. I was really waiting for a platform to ask me this question because I had a lot to say, but I will make it concise because there are a lot of things that they're having a misconception about it. I think the biggest misconception can be that Afghan girls are helpless, as you said, silent victims of their circumstance, waiting for rescue. That might be a very good headline for the newspapers, but actually, that is not the truth. What people often don't see is the resistance happening in whispers and kitchens and underground classrooms and the Zoom calls and Google Meet calls. They don't see the girl teaching herself coding from a smartphone, which I have seen it, or the one organizing secret study groups, which we had, and also or the countless young women like me building online platforms, sharing their voices and creating change with no funding, no spotlight, just raw determination. The world sees the restriction, but they don't see the rebellion. And that is what I wish they understood. Afghan girls are not asking to be saved. They're asking to be seen, to be supported in what they're already doing. They're not voiceless. We're just not amplifying their voices. So
Mhm.
I wish the international community saw Afghan girls as partners, not projects, as change makers, not victims, or I can say as powerful minds with dreams, ideas, and strength to lead. Not someday, but right now.
Of course, as I have said before, they do not pity, they need partnership, they need support from us. But one thing that they should know that they're not alone. We are always fighting for them and fighting for their
Yeah.
right. But it's something I recently read from a US senator that who said that hope is not a strategy in politics. That he was talking about the war between the US and Iran. But and to be fair, that in many places, yes, it's true. But in Afghanistan, where systems have been stripped away, where girls can't go to school and can't walk freely, can't even speak without fear. Sometimes hope is the only strategy left. It is the fuel behind the underground classrooms, as you have said before, behind the organization like yours, and behind every girl who looks in quietly to online lessons. Hope becomes more than a feeling. I'm sure that it becomes survival. Actually, it becomes actions. I would like to know that. What does hope mean to you personally, and how do you keep it alive when everything around you tries to take it away?
A fun fact about me, my name Hila, it's a Pashto name and it means hope. And the
Oh,
places that I'm working, for
interesting.
example, Amala is an Arabic name that also means hope. Beacon of Hope is also means hope. So I'm surrounded by hopes.
Yeah.
But
Nice.
hope to me is more than just a feeling. It's a kind of resistance. It's not passive or soft. It's active. It's gritty. It's what gets me out of bed even when everything feels very heavy. It's what whispers to me like, "You're not done yet, Hira." Personally, I have had moments, I'm being literally honest, that I was so overwhelmed. I was so tired of the situation. I was so even tired of working. When I looked at the world around me, girls being silenced, dreams being crashed, and thought, what difference can I even make? But then I remember hope is not about pretending everything is okay. It's
Mhm.
about believing it can be better and doing something about it. Even if it's small, doesn't matter. I keep hope alive by surrounding myself with others who are also fighting to keep it alive, like the community we have for the Beacon of Hope. When you see the courage in them, you will be literally inspired by each one of them. But if you just sit with negative people, of course, there will be negativity. So when it gets hard, and it does actually, I remind myself of something very simple. We may not control what's taken from us, but we can control what we create. And for me, hope is something we create together.
And yeah, to say it honestly, people like you or the source of hope for others. As I have listened to, I get it that people like you and you are actually a source of hope for others. Thank
Yeah,
you for what you're doing for others, and thank you for the work that you are doing. I would like to just add that Afghan girls are not hopeless, as I have mentioned before, and I would like to repeat it once again that Afghan girls are not hopeless. They are some of the most determined, courageous, and visionary people I have ever met. Like people like you, and I know hundreds and thousands of them. Even when the world shuts them out, they find ways to learn, to lead, to raise like you. As I have mentioned before, that they do not need pity, they need opportunity, support, and partnership. They do not need saving, as you have said during your talking. They need solidarity. We must
hmm
stop talking about them and start listening to them because they're not waiting for a better future. I'm seeing that the ladies inside Afghanistan and the women inside Afghanistan, they're building it day by day in the darkest of conditions with the brightest of minds. And to every
yeah,
Afghan girls listening right now to this podcast, we see you, we believe in you, and no matter how hard things get, please know you're not alone, you're not forgetting, and you're the future, and we are with you. Once again, there, Hila, thank you for joining us. But if there is anything I have missed, or if there's anything you would like to share at the end with our audience, with your sisters inside and outside Afghanistan, mic is yours.
of course. Thank you so much, Mr. Mubariz, for the opportunity, first of all. Just by listening to this podcast, I can surely say they might be inspired by some inspirational words. And I am saying it again as just echoing your speech that, guys, you're not alone. We're all here Just we need a little bit support. We're not waiting for someone to save us, but actually we are creating something like a space, like a environment for all of us. So your voice matters. Whenever you want to speak, do not be afraid. Just let it be like that. And of course, people like me are there to support you in any other kind of way. So don't worry that much. And yeah, thank you once again for listening to us. And thank you, Mr. Mubariz, for inviting me.
It was a great honor to talk with you. Thank you.